UFC 311 just took place. Islam Makhachev and Merab Dvalishvili, and still. And now, given that we are post pay-per-view, we got to talk about what's next for the important fighters from the UFC 311 pay-per-view. So that's exactly what we're going to do in this video. Stick around to see who I have each of these fighters matched up with. I'm Wyatt, and this is Fight Society. Before we get into the video, guys, please make sure to like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. It really helps me out a lot. And if you want to support the channel a little bit further and get access to some bonus content like members-only live streams, become a channel member through the link in the description of this video or the join button on our channel homepage. Thank you very much. Back to the video. All right, guys, so UFC 311 is over. Really big card, a lot of big names on the card as well. Some interesting results, a little bit of controversy in the co-main event, and we have a fraud check in Peyton Talbot. So we got to match up quite a bit of people. So as you can see right here on the screen, I am showing each of the important fighters to me on the UFC 311 card, and you may see that they have an empty box next to them. I will be filling that box with the fighter that I have them matched up with for their next fight. We'll start off with the and still UFC lightweight champion, #1 pound for pound fighter on earth, best lightweight of all time, Islam Makhachev. He's talking about staying in the division, saying that if anybody wants this belt, come and get it. I think it's time for him to move up and challenge for champ status. I think you give him the winner of Shavkat Rakhmonov and Belal Muhammad later this year. I know that Belal Muhammad and him have trained together before and that there's a little bit of friction there about if they would fight or not, but I think Shavkat's going to win for one. And that opens up the possibility for them to fight regardless. If it's Belal Muhammad, Islam has said that Ali Abdelaziz, who's both of him and Belal's manager, that they'd all need to talk and figure something out to have that fight take place. So it's not completely out of the question that Islam moves up to fight Belal. So that's what I have, Islam moving up, and then you do Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan 2 as an interim fight or something like that, even though Dana said that Arman's next fight won't be for the title. We'll see. Moving on from there, we have Renato Moicano, who took the main event slot on 24 hours notice after Arman Tsarukyan pulled out just before weigh-ins. Renato Moicano was originally booked against Beneil Dariush. Big ups to Renato Moicano for stepping up against the #1 pound for pound fighter on earth on such short notice. Unfortunately, I don't think he's ready for a top 5 guy. I think you give him someone close to the top 5 that he was just booked against anyway. I think you do Beneil Dariush and Moicano. Moicano took almost no damage, got submitted relatively early. Beneil didn't fight, so no damage at all. I think you rebook this and you put it on UFC 314. You put it on the Miami pay-per-view in April. That's probably going to be Volkanovski and Poirier rematch. I think that makes a lot of sense for that card. Good names. Moicano trains in Florida already, just coming off of a title shot that boosted his name even further. I think you do this fight on the main card of UFC 314 in Miami in April. Moving down from there, we have the defending UFC bantamweight champion Merab Dvalishvili coming off of his decision win over Umar Nurmagomedov, who I kind of thought won the fight. There's a lot of questions about what's next for Merab. There was even talk about O'Malley getting an immediate rematch against Merab. But I think what makes a lot of sense right now, because flyweight is kind of a mess right now too, and there's really nobody that has a compelling argument for a title shot at flyweight and kind of the same at bantamweight. I think you do a champ-champ fight between Merab Dvalishvili and Alexandre Pantoja, moving up to 135 to challenge for champ-champ status. He's got enough title defenses at this point. He's beaten so many ranked guys, and some of them multiple times in the top 10 at flyweight. I think you move him up to 135 pounds. If he loses, just have him go right back down. But I think that this is a fun fight that's kind of an in the meantime fight where you can kind of figure out the bantamweight division a little bit, and maybe you have a more clear-cut #1 contender at 125 as well. So I think that fight would be a lot of fun. Pantoja's super durable, has good cardio, really strong. Merab's not the biggest guy in the world. It could be a compelling fight. Moving on from there, we have Umar Nurmagomedov, who lost to Merab Dvalishvili. I kind of thought that Umar won, I'm going to be honest, but I understand the decision going to Merab Dvalishvili. I'm not saying it was a robbery or anything. Umar broke his hand. He's going to need some time off. I think you still have him fight a highly ranked guy coming off of a win, but you don't just throw him back in there with a top 5 guy necessarily, because I think there's more interesting matchups, and he's already fought Corey Sandhagen. I think you have him fight the winner of the UFC Seattle main event that's at the end of February. You have him fight the winner of Henry Cejudo and Song Yadong, and then the winner of this fight would be like one more win from a title shot. I think this makes a lot of sense. You have an explosive Song Yadong. They've already talked about him fighting Umar. It was supposed to be on the Tampa card in December. Didn't work out. So there's some history there. And then Cejudo, his wrestling against Umar, that could be a really fun fight as well. I think either of those is a great next matchup for Umar Nurmagomedov. But given that he's ranked like 1 or 2 in the division, you got to have him be in something close to a number 1 contenders fight. Cejudo always trying to get back to a title shot. I think this makes a lot of sense. Moving on from there, we have a bantamweight matchup that I think makes a ton of sense is Sean O'Malley, Peter Yan rematch to decide who fights Merab next at 135 pounds, either after a potential Pantoja matchup or instead of a Pantoja matchup. I think Merab could use a little bit of time off because he did rush into this fight with an injury and now he won. Maybe he's going to demand 6-7 months off. That gives us enough time for O'Malley and Peter Yan to fight in a rematch, controversial 3-round decision in their first fight, have them run it back 5 rounds as a pay-per-view co-main event, 5 rounds, or a fight night main event, like a crowded fight night main event. You obviously wouldn't put this in the Apex, but Peter Yan, O'Malley, winner fights Merab, or winner fights the winner of Merab and Pantoja. I think that makes a ton of sense. They're always looking to get O'Malley back to a title shot, so a win over Peter Yan justifies a title shot for O'Malley because that's what happened last time, especially at Peter Yan right now that's on a win streak. Moving on from there, we have Jiri Prochazka coming off of a 3rd round TKO win over Jamahal Hill. Super entertaining fight. He called for a 3rd fight with Alex Pereira. I don't think we're there yet. He's already lost to Alex Pereira twice in the last year or so, 13, 14 months. So I think what you do is you have Jiri fight the winner of this fight. Jan Blachowicz and Carlos Ulberg are going to be fighting on the UFC London card in March. The winner of that fight versus Jiri would be a fantastic pay-per-view co-main. Same thing, crowded fight night main event, something like that. And there was rumors circulating that Ulberg was going to be pulled from this Blachowicz fight and fight Alex Pereira in the UFC 313 main event. But as we've seen, Magomed Ankalaev is going to fight on that date. There was some confusion or some uncertainty about it because Ankalaev wouldn't necessarily, or people assumed he wouldn't want to fight during Ramadan, but he's going to. Therefore, Ankalaev Pereira at UFC 313. And then Ulberg Blachowicz still happening at UFC London. Currently, it's the co-main event. I could see it getting bumped down to have a Paddy Pimblett co-main event. And then you also have the Leon Edwards, Jack Della Maddalena main event. So that's going to be a crazy card. But Jiri against the winner of these guys. Moving down the card from there, Jamahal Hill got KO'd. Took a lot of damage, a ton of damage. I think you rebook him with Khalil Roundtree. Khalil Roundtree took a ton of damage against Alex Pereira in October. That was only 3 months ago. I think you have both of these guys sit out until like August, September, something like that, and have them fight each other. They were supposed to be the co-main event of UFC 303, which was also supposed to be Conor and Chandler. They fell off this card, and then Conor and Chandler obviously as well. I think this fight makes a lot of sense. They're both kind of at the same place in their career, coming off of big losses. Or not saying they were bad losses, but losses in big fights. And I think that this is a really good matchup for one of these guys to start working their way back up towards a title fight. Moving on from there, we have Jailton Almeida, who had a 1st round TKO of Sergey Spivak. Spivak started fast, then gassed. Almeida got his back, flattened him out, ground and pound TKO from the mounted back position. He called out Ciryl Gane, and then he also called out Aspinall if John Jones versus Aspinall doesn't happen. Hopefully, I think it still does. And because I'm holding on to that hope, I have Jailton Almeida against Ciryl Gane. Winner of that gets a title fight, something like that. Moving on from there, we have Rener de Ridder, who submitted Kevin Holland in the 1st round. I think that Rener de Ridder, super legit, obviously very sus on the feet, double champion in one championship, came over here to the UFC, beat GM3, Gerald Mearshart, the GOAT, in a competitive fight where he submitted him in round 3 and looked very suspicious on the feet. In this fight against Kevin Holland, the only way for Kevin Holland to win was to piece Rener de Ridder up on the feet. De Ridder just completely eliminated that possibility. He threw a jab, shot a takedown, 2.5, 3 minutes of him advancing position, trying to get the back. He gets Kevin Holland's back. They have about 30 or so seconds of them hand fighting. De Ridder gets the choke, fight over. Oh, actually, he backpacked him too. I think that was a great win for Rener de Ridder. I think he's legit. I don't know how he does against a really good striker like a Caio Borralho or an Adesanya, somebody like that. But it's time to test him. He called for a top 5 guy. I don't think you give him a top 5 guy, but I think you give him really close to the top 5. You give him Marvin Vettori, who's been out for a long time. Not a great striker, but very tough, very strong, good grappler, very durable, finds a way to not get finished in basically any fight. And so I think that's a really solid matchup. That could be an Apex main event. That could be a pay-per-view main card, something like that. Moving on from there, we have Kevin Holland. He lost to Rener de Ridder, as I just mentioned. Kevin Holland, even though he keeps losing their big matchups, he's an entertaining guy. I think you do a name value fight. And also this works for the guy I'm matching him up with as a step up in competition, as somebody that Kevin Holland could beat on the feet. I think you do Kevin Holland, Bo Nickel. And you do it same thing as I mentioned about Renato Moicano. Kevin Holland got submitted quick, didn't really take much damage. Kevin Holland, Bo Nickel on the Miami card in UFC 314 in April. And that card's kind of already coming together. I'll do a video about it. But Moicano, Dariush, Holland, Bo Nickel, Masvidal returning against somebody, Gilbert Burns, Michael Morales on the main card, and Topuria Volkanovski rematch main event. There's a sick pay-per-view right there. So moving on from there, we have Peyton Talbot, who was fraud checked by an old, very bad looking Raoni Barcelos. He got pieced by Raoni Barcelos, clipped on the feet, dominated in the grappling. The hype is going to die around Peyton Talbot very quickly unless they refuse to let it. If they want to keep pushing him, I think you give him a winnable fight. He's going to have to work on his wrestling, but you give him a winnable fight against a big name, former champion, Cody Garbrandt. I know it sounds a little bit out of left field, but I really, really like this idea. Peyton Talbot, Cody Garbrandt, fight night co-main event, pay-per-view main card, something like that. Cody likes to throw hands, but he does pose something of a wrestling threat. And I think that Peyton Talbot is probably going to take a lot of time off, like 6+ months to work on his grappling. But if they want to keep pushing him as a star, it's only one loss. It's not a big deal. If they want to keep pushing him as a potential star, Cody Garbrandt, Peyton Talbot makes a ton of sense to me. So here we have the matchups that I have laid out. Makhachev going for double champ status. Moicano, Beneil Dariush. Pantoja move up for double champ status against Merab. Umar versus the winner of Cejudo Song Yadong. O'Malley, Peter Yan rematch. Yuri versus the winner of Olberg and Blachowicz. Jamahal Hill, Khalil Roundtree. Jailton Almeida, Ciryl Gane. Rener de Ridder, Marvin Vettori. Kevin Holland, Bo Nickel. And Peyton Talbot, Cody Garbrandt. Let me know what you guys think down below. Did I miss any? What fights would you have made? Let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching this video. Please make sure to like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. It really helps me out a lot. If you want access to bonus content, become a channel member today by clicking the join button on our channel homepage or the link down below this video. If you're interested in some non-MMA content from me, go check out my podcast, What's Up Bro, with Wyatt and Bo, in the link down below. Go watch this suggested video, and I'll see you next time.